Welcome to another tutorial video. This time around, we're going to be discussing the concept of original issue discount, or OID, on debt issuances and explain how it works on the financial statements. So we actually get a lot of questions about this topic, and the typical question goes something like this. Can you explain what original issue discount, or OID, means and how to model it on a debt issuance in a three-statement model, or LBO model? I've seen this concept in case studies and modeling tests before, but I'm not sure exactly how it works. So once again, we're going to go through this and give you a short answer if you're just looking to get a very quick answer to this question, and then we'll go through a longer answer that gives you a bit more of a flexible way of thinking about this. So original issue discount comes up when a company issues debt at a discount to its par value. So maybe a bond is worth 100. That's the face value of the bond, what the company will pay interest on, but the company issues it for only 90 or 95 or something like that. Usually this happens because the bond's coupon rate or interest rate is below the rates of other similar bonds, and the company needs to do something to incentivize investors to buy it, even though they could be earning higher interest elsewhere. Now, this could also happen if the company's credit quality is somewhat questionable and investors have doubts about its ability to eventually repay this bond as well. When this happens, the company amortizes this discount. So in the example with 100 and 90, it's a discount of 10, so they would amortize that discount of 10 over the total years that the bond remains outstanding on its financial statements, and the company will keep increasing the book value of debt on the balance sheet as this happens. But the company still pays interest based on the face value of the debt, the 100. Let's go into Excel quickly and show you what this looks like. So I have this exact scenario here. The par value is 100, the debt is issued at 90. On the balance sheet, initially, the company will record debt of 90, and then they will increase it by 2 each year as we amortize that discount over time, over this 5-year period. We assume here that this bond remains outstanding for 5 years. So the amortization is based on that 10 divided by the 5-year amortization period, so 2 each year here. The face value of the debt remains the same at 100 because nothing related to the original issue discount or the amortization of it affects this. Now, if you look on the other statements, on the income statement, for example, we have interest expense of 10 each year on the debt. Now, that is cash interest expense because we are assuming here that the debt interest rate is a fixed 10%, so that's where the 10 of interest here comes from. And then we also have amortization of the original issue discount, and both of these are components of the interest expense. So both these items will appear as interest expense on the income statement and will reduce the company's pre-tax income, their taxes, and their net income. Now, on the cash flow statement, the net income will be down as a result of the interest expense and the amortization of the original issue discount, but we add back the amortization of the original issue discount because it is a non-cash expense here, very similar to depreciation and amortization. If you think about the net impact of original issue discount in terms of how free cash flow changes, if we issued this at par value, so 100, let's say, our free cash flow would be very slightly lower in that scenario. So this amortization of original issue discount is a non-cash charge that reduces the company's tax bill slightly. And I have a quick summary of everything we just went through here. In this scenario, we get 12 in total interest expense, net income is lower, we add back the OID amortization, and the book value keeps increasing over time until it goes up to 100 at the end upon maturity. Now, the longer answer to this question is that if there are principal repayments, then we have to amortize the original issue discount more rapidly. So this scenario gets a bit more complicated. It's not as easy as just saying 2 per year or taking whatever the discount is and dividing by the number of years. Companies call this extra amortization or accelerated amortization, something like the loss on unamortized original issue discount on repayment. This loss is based on the percent of debt principal that is repaid each year times the original issue discount balance after the amortization in this specific year. So if we have an original issue discount of 10, we have 2 of amortization in the first year, and we repay 20 of the debt principal in that first year. This will be based on the 20% of the debt principal that we repay, and then we subtract the amortization in this year, the 2, from the 10 that we start with, so it's 8, and then we record 20% times 8, or 1.6, for this extra accelerated amount. let's go into Excel and show you what this looks like. So let's say we have 20% annual amortization here. For the loss on the unamortized original issue discount upon repayment, we are taking the OID beginning balance minus the amortization this year, so the 10 minus the 2, that's the sum of G21 to G22 here, and then we're multiplying by the 20 that we repay divided by the starting balance of 100. So we repay 20% of the principal this year, and as a result, we get to that 1.6 number that I just showed you in PowerPoint, and that is how this works. Of course, we don't just stop there. There's something else as well, which is that the amortization of the OID itself, that normal straight line amount that we had before, also changes in this scenario. So it's not just a simple straight line number anymore. The calculation is that it's equal to the minimum between the OID beginning balance in this year and the beginning balance in this year divided by the remaining years in the OID amortization period. So if we have an OID of 10 and a 5-year period, this will initially be 10 divided by 5, or 2, but it will fall to less than 1 by the end because of the way the math works. Let's go into Excel and take a look at this again. If we go under the amortization of OID here, it's the same exact formula using the minimum function. So initially, it's just going to be the 10 divided by the 5 here, which gives us 2 for the amortization of OID. But then by the end, or at least by year 4, let's say, we go down to 0.8, because by the time we get here, our OID beginning balance is 1.6. 1.6 divided by 2 gives us 0.8 for the amortization of OID. And then, of course, by the end, we get to an even lower number here, 0.4, and then the OID goes away completely by the end. So if you think about the net effect here, instead of amortizing just 2 of the OID per year, we amortize 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then less than 1. And you can see that pretty clearly if we just look at the numbers here. So let's just add up the amortization of OID and then the accelerated amortization component. And you can see it goes from 3.6 to 2.8 to 2.0 to 1.2 to 0.4 by the end. Now, on the financial statements, this accelerating component, the loss on unamortized OID upon repayment, counts as another expense on the income statement. So cash interest, OID amortization, and this loss all reduce the company's pre-tax income, taxes, and net income. On the cash flow statement, net income is lower, and you add back the last 2 components since they're both non-cash expenses. Let's take a look at this in Excel as well. So on the income statement, we have not only the cash interest expense, which goes down here because of the principal repayment and how the face value of the debt changes over time, but we also have that amortization of OID. Both those count as interest expense, so the interest expense here goes from 12 to 2 over time. But then we also have this accelerated component, the loss on unamortized OID upon repayment, and we have that contributing there as well. Then on the cash flow statement, our net income is lower, and we add back both of these components, the normal amortization of OID and then the accelerated component that comes about as a direct result of the debt principal repayments here. So both these count as non-cash charges, and both these give a slight boost to the company because they're non-cash charges that reduce their tax bill. So as I say here, it's a slight boost to the company's free cash flow. They're non-cash items that reduce taxes, similar to depreciation. Now, if you think about the magnitude here, we're going from free cash flow of 62 to 99 right now. Let's say that we increase this, and let's say that we issue this $100 bond for 50 instead. Now our free cash flow goes from 65 to 99. So it's clearly an increase here, but it's not really that much of an increase if you sit back and think about it. We're issuing a bond at a 50% discount, and yet our free cash flow here only goes up by a very, very tiny amount. This brings up the question of whether or not OID really matters. And the short answer is, in most cases, no, not really. Most debt is not issued at anywhere close to a 50% discount, let alone a 10% discount. Normally, you see discounts in a 1 to 3% range in normal market environments. So the company does save a tiny amount on taxes as a result of all this, but especially if you're in a country with a relatively low corporate tax rate, 15%, 20%, 25%, something like that, there's not going to be a massive difference here. It also takes a lot of extra work to set up these calculations, especially if instead of just one tranche of debt, as we had here, you have 5 or 10 or 15 or something like that. So you should be familiar with OID. It's good to know how it works and why it works the way it does, but you shouldn't obsess over it. It's just not that important. And even if you had this in a case study or modeling test, if you left it out or you simplified it or you didn't get it quite correct, it would make hardly any difference on the end result in 99% of cases. We're at the end, so let's do a recap and summary now. With original issue discount, the idea is that the face value of a bond is 100, but the company issues it for only 90, usually because the interest rate on it is not competitive with market interest rates. It's offering less than what investors could get elsewhere in the market. This could also happen if there are doubts about the company's credit quality and ability to repay the debt eventually. Now, when there's no principal repayment on this bond or other form of debt, the company simply amortizes this 10 of original issue discount over the number of years to maturity each year. They show that as an expense on the income statement, they add it back as a non-cash expense on the cash flow statement, and they increase the book value of debt on the balance sheet each year. But they still pay interest in cash on the $100 face value of the bond. When there are principal repayments, you have to accelerate the OID amortization based on the OID after the normal amortization each year times the repayment percentage in that year. Also, the normal amortization starts higher and declines each year. So the net impact is that with these principal repayments, you start off amortizing a higher amount and then go down to a much lower amount by the end. The impact overall is quite small. There is a bit of tax savings, and so this is something that's good to be familiar with in case studies and something that we do get a fair number of questions on, but in the end, not something that's going to make a big impact on financial models and investment recommendations in most cases.